Alright, y'all. We're gonna have a chat about ranked play, which seems weird because I think a lot of people think that I just never touch PvP because I don't do any videos on it. I don't touch PvP that much right now, but in year 1 and year 2, I did a lot of PvPing. You know, I got plenty of flawless trials runs, and I'll definitely be hitting up the Crucible in Destiny 2 now that it appears to be more well put together. But based on what we know right now, there is no ranked play at launch. This is concerning. Here's the full quote. We're not doing ranked PvP. We have an idea of something we might do. I don't want to commit to it here, he was doing a podcast, because I'm not sure it's going to happen. But if we don't get it for the 6th, there will be some way for players to show off their prowess to other people, which is ultimately what a ranking system is. We're working on something, end quote. Ooh, that's inspiring. Destiny 2 is sacrificing a good amount of things in PvE for the sake of PvP, or at least in my eyes it is, based on what we know now. And for the sake of the video, by the way, anytime I say something, it is based on what we know now. I just don't want to repeat myself 100 times. Number 1 is the fact that the heavy weapon is gone, and in its place is essentially another primary weapon that can kill shields a little bit faster. Special and heavy weapons are fun in PvE. That's going away at a rate of 50%. Number 2 are the subclass changes. You get to pick one of 2 blocks of perks, and that's it. A system that I thought was going to be more in-depth in Destiny 2 went in the completely opposite direction. I'm fully aware of the fact that there weren't that many builds in Destiny 1 to begin with. You know, you basically used the same 2 builds for everything. But I would rather have 2 builds with the option to tinker as opposed to just 2 builds. Number 3 is the removal of intellect, discipline, and strength. Abilities are fun in PvE. Energy Drain Voidlock is the most fun build in the game because of low ability cooldowns and synergy. Those stats appear to be gone, and abilities appear to be on pretty long cooldowns. So how is Bungie even attempting to balance the Crucible in a way that makes it more competitive? Well, for starters, everything is now 4v4, regardless of mode, including trials, whatever that ends up being. Smaller teams means less chaos and a greater focus on being tactical and communicating as opposed to 6v6. Next, damage is lower across the board. Guns do not kill as quickly, and there are significantly fewer one-shot mechanics. Sticky grenades do not one-shot. It takes 3 melee attacks to kill someone, among other things. Abilities are on much longer cooldowns. Next is a greater focus on primary gun battles. Only one person can pick up the power ammo, and all one-shot weapons are in the power ammo slot. Movement across the board has also slowed down, meaning you're not going to have someone flying at your face at 1,000,000 miles an hour with a shotgun. You can only pick one of 2 blocks of subclass perks, which means fewer builds for Bungie to have to balance. Most, if not all, supers are now roaming supers. It's easier to kill people in their supers with an energy weapon. Those are the big things. I'm sure there's others as well. All of those PvE sacrifices can be forgiven for the sake of balancing the Crucible. Bungie wants to balance the Crucible so that it can provide a more competitive experience. 4v4, sweeping gameplay changes, and that is fine. If Bungie follows up in a suitable way. One non-suitable way to follow up is by saying, we're not doing ranked PvP. That inspires zero confidence at all. Now, for all I know, they could have something being put together, ready to go very soon after launch, and I will gladly eat my words if that's the case. But we're working on something is just developer talk. It could mean by the next expansion. It could mean by next year. It could mean never. And with the news that private matches are not going to be at launch with Destiny 2, you have taken away the only tool that the small grassroots competitive community had to grow some sort of competitive scene. I know the use rate on private matches is abysmal. It's probably like 1% or less, but I still think it's something you need to have in the game regardless. I know for a fact that the PC community will tear the game apart on Destiny's lacking PvP features compared to other games, whether it's deserved or not. Let's face it, people are going to critique stuff regardless of knowledge or context. I'm doing it right now. Having the PC crowd's first impressions of PvP being no ranked and no private matches, I don't think it's going to be pretty. On top of stuff like trading kills happening more often than in any other game that I've ever played. A lot of people mentioned to me on Twitter that Overwatch didn't have ranked at launch. I know, very true. But Overwatch was a brand new IP and had ranked play very quickly. They wanted players to learn the game and kept the community aware that ranked was coming. Overwatch also had private matches pretty quickly. Destiny has been out for 3 years already. Overwatch, though, is not a fair comparison, and it never was. I just had a lot of people mention that on Twitter, so I wanted to acknowledge it. It is not a fair comparison, not even close. Destiny and Overwatch are two completely different gaming experiences with vastly, vastly different goals. Look, Bungie, if you're going to do competitive play, it's got to be rewarding too. It's got to have meaning. That's the biggest problem in Destiny right now. So many activities lack meaning and purpose in the endgame when we're all done with the campaign. Strike playlist, no meaning. Crucible, no meaning. The things claimed to have tons of replayability don't have it because they don't have meaning. That's what makes things replayable. That's why a zillion people still play Overwatch ranked play. Fun is fine. I like fun. Those things are fun. I'll run some Nightfalls, but you can make it fun and meaningful. You need to stop being so afraid of rewarding people for being good or having time. You do it with trials in the raid moderately well. You know, I got my Burning Eye Adept. I don't need 15 of them, but I got one at least. I don't want competitive mode or ranked mode to be this Care Bear, candy ass, everyone gets a trophy nonsense that the game has been turning into. I don't want competitive mode to just be skill-based matchmaking, the game mode. It's not just about showing off prowess either. It's about seeing how good you really are. It's about trying to become a better player. It's about having a long-term goal to strive for. It's about seeing the progress you make as you become more experienced. Showing off is nice too, you know, I'm always down to do that, but I'm always looking to become a better player, and that's what ranked can show. Where do I place among my peers? Then, how do I improve from there? It's motivating. There's something called player responsibility too. People need to be okay with not getting everything if they aren't good enough or don't have the time. I'm a diamond player at best in Overwatch. I'm not whining that I didn't get the top 500 icon if I'm not top 500. I'm not whining that I don't have mythic raid gear in World of Warcraft because I don't have the time. I'm not whining that I haven't gold starred a bunch of Rock Band 4 songs because I'm not good enough. I just need to get good. Bungie's not going to tell you to get good though. They're too afraid of that. Bungie, if you're putting this much effort into building a competitive experience, especially when you need to sacrifice in PvE to do it, which I think is where the game is at its best, you gotta own it. You gotta let the good players be good. You gotta reward them for it. I want to see people in Masters getting a new weapon skin for being in Masters. Trials was a good start for laying down some sort of foundation for competitive play. Own it. Right now, the vibe I'm getting isn't one of, we want to make the competitive experience rich and rewarding and meaningful. The vibe I'm getting so far is, man, we really wish the community would just shut the hell up about PvP balance. Let's make a bunch of changes to balance it as much as possible so that maybe they'll shut up while we work on new PvE content, which I'm sure is still somewhat of a goal, if a bit crude in the way that I said it. And to everyone who might be saying throughout this entire video that Destiny isn't supposed to be this competitive game and how it's a PvE game first and blah blah, guess what? All of the things I said in this video are happening. This is not some fantasy world that Bungie is thinking about. This is not some speculation or a fan post on Reddit. This is happening in Destiny 2 in 3 months. You can call Destiny non-competitive all you want, but Bungie is working to make this game more competitive and balanced. I think it would be a real shame to make all of these changes for the sake of PvP balance and then have a weak-ass follow-up. And that's regardless of how I feel about PvP. That's just a quality of the game situation. I'm with you guys. I like the PvE experience in Destiny quite a lot and play it more often than PvP. But this is a thing that's happening. I know how premature this video is. I know. And I know this is an anti-casual video and stuff like that. I know. The hardcore Datto is out in full force in this video. I suppressed him for a long time, but he escaped. He escaped for this one. There's still plenty of time before Destiny 2. We still know very little about the game and what's changing. And yes, it's true that most people will be playing PvE when the game first launches, and that ranked play doesn't need to be done exactly at launch. But that's what I wanted to hear from Bungie, that ranked play is built or almost done, and it'll be ready a few weeks after launch. You say that, I never make this video. I guess I just want to emphasize how much I'd like Bungie to really support this new system with meaningful rewards and meaningful progression. The Crucible now has absolutely no meaning. You just go in there, you shoot some dudes, and you just get rewarded for playing. Feels like I've seen this happen before, you know? PvE scoring was a great concept. No meaning behind it, barely anything done with it. Challenge modes are a great concept. They started off way too easy. It's like you come up with a bunch of cool stuff, you start to implement it, and then right before it gets to be really rock solid, you get yanked away to work on something else. Follow through! We've had a bunch of changes made to PvP that negatively impacted PvE, and if that trend is going to continue, PvP needs to be rock solid to compensate. I also think it's a real shame that Destiny 1 PvP, specifically Trials, is going out the way that it is, and I know Destiny 2 PvP is already better, but I don't know. I just had to open the valve on this one and let out some frustrations. I want to see some real progress in this area. I'm begging you, man. I'm begging you. End of the day, I know Bungie has no interest in making a difficult game or creating an experience that shuns any kind of player based on skill or time. I know. It's just frustrating, and I'm just venting. Anyway, I'm done. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.